Hello everyone, this is Void Spirit. I'm here to bring you guys amazing fanfiction that you will surely enjoy. But before we start, please subscribe and like the video for more amazing content. CH38. The best night for some is the most shameful for others. After saving Sariel, the group went back to the place where they talked with Raphael, and when they came back there was a table full of foods native to White Village that were invented by the Reapers. Everyone sat down to eat as it was already time for dinner. Raphael went back to his house and said that he would be back the next morning. No one had any objection to their staying in town as they were in no hurry to take over the dungeons. At the moment they were sitting down to eat. On one side of the table was Rimuru, next to him Chloe, and on the other side Sakura. On the other side of the table was Hajime with Yu and Kaori beside him. Tio and Shia were at the ends of the table and Myu was on Hajime's lap. At this moment Yu tugged on Hajime's sleeve. Hajime, ah. She stretched out her fork and Hajime tasted a piece of her food. After that Hajime felt a chill run down his spine and turned to see Kaori with the demon behind. Behind her was something like a Hanya floating. When Hajime turned around, the Hanya disappeared and Kaori smiled gently. Me too, Hajime-kun, ah. Okay. He ate in awe and Kaori looked happy. Shia looked startled by something and spoke. Tio-san, is it just me or was there something after Kaori-san? No, Shia. I saw it too, but I thought I was going crazy. The two were in a cold sweat and across the table. Rimuru-san, try some. Chloe did the same and Rimuru ate in shame. Sakura did as well and seemed pleased with Rimuru's reaction. Shia and Tio seemed to want to do the same to Hajime and were their forks, but Hajime denied with, I'm full. At this moment Rimuru caught everyone's attention. So, what did you guys think of the city? Everyone looked thoughtful and Shia was the first to speak. I found the people very kind. Me too, and I really sympathize with them. Yes. Even though Sariel-san and Raphael-san are high-ranking, they weren't arrogant or snobbish with us. Shia, Tio and Kaori had positive opinions and Hajime looked suspicious. Why are you asking that? Hajime asked and Rimuru's expression turned serious. He answered in a low voice. Dark days may await this city. Everyone looked at him in surprise when he said this. Rimuru returned to his normal expression and said. Well, you will know more tomorrow. I'm a little tired and I'm done eating. So I'm going upstairs, are you coming? He asked Chloe and Sakura and they both agreed. Everyone thought about his words earlier, about the dark days, but understood why he said it. Rimuru wanted them to think if something happened they would help or not. After that they went up to their rooms. Rimuru, Sakura and Chloe had a room with a big bed. Hajime, Yu, Kaori, Shia and Tio would sleep in a room with 3 beds. After they went upstairs Rimuru lay down and started reading a book he had put away. While he was reading Sakura was taking a bath and Chloe was changing clothes. After a while Sakura got out of the bath and called Rimuru. Rimuru-san. Huh? He looked and Sakura was wearing a half-embarrassed expression. She was wearing a robe and her hair was still half wet. Then Chloe called out to Rimuru. Rimuru-san, do you want to? Eh? Rimuru was confused that Chloe was also wearing a robe. The two approached each other and climbed onto the bed. Chloe, Sakura. What's going on? Chloe and Sakura looked at each other embarrassed and slowly took off their robes. Rimuru's eyes widened as they were both wearing lingerie. Since when do you guys have these clothes? Rimuru was trying not to look at the see-through parts and was scratching the back of his neck in shame. Chloe moved a little closer and spoke. I bought them when we were in the capital. Did Rimuru-san like the surprise? I loved it. It seems that the sushis were not the only surprise Chloe prepared for Rimuru. Sakura approached Rimuru and kissed him. Rimuru then asked. Do you want me to? Both of you? Yes. We thought Rimuru-san would like it. Did you like it? Very much. Chloe smiled at his direct answer and took off the top of her clothes. Her beautiful breasts were exposed and she approached Rimuru. She kissed him and spoke. Then Rimuru-san can have us now. And with those words they did some naughty stuff. Unknown to the walls of the room was so thin that the people from the other rooms can heard them completely. After eating dinner, Hajime, Yu, Kaori, Myu, Shia and Tio were in a room with 3 beds. It was decided that Hajime would sleep with Yu and Kaori. That was the obvious choice, since they were his loved ones. Myu was already sleeping in the same bed that Shia would sleep in. Yu was lying down writing in her diary. Meanwhile Kaori was putting on her pajamas. Hajime was cleaning his weapons. Shia and Tio were already lying down, and Shia seemed a little grumpy from not sleeping with Hajime. So Yu tried to cheer her up. Shia, don't worry, soon Hajime will tire of Kaori and then you can sleep with Hajime. Yu-san. Hajime-kun, Yu-san is being cruel to me again. Kaori pointed at Yu as if pointing out a criminal. Yu seemed to be amused by this and Hajime moved closer. He stroked her cheeks to reassure her. Hajime-kun, you know you don't have to worry about that. Oh. Okay. Kaori smiled happily, having her cheeks caressed as Hajime also petted Yu's head. A pink space was forming, and at this moment, Shia jumped up on the bed and her rabbit ears stood up. She looked surprised at something and the others were casting confused looks at her. Shia. What happened? Hajime asked, and Shia, who had her hands in her ears to hear better, said. I think I heard some noise from Rimuru-san's room and the girls. She spoke curiously and tried to listen better. Everyone knew that Shia's ears were great and were worried. An enemy attack? No, if it was that, my brother would have already warned us. Hajime denied Yu's theory and the others were also trying to listen. At this moment, they heard a shout coming from Rimuru's room. Everyone was surprised and Hajime became thoughtful. Tio was the first to speak. A scream? No, it sounded more like a groan, right? Could someone have been hurt? Kaori agreed and was worried and the others were thoughtful. At this moment Hajime put his hand on his forehead covering his eyes and said. That idiot forgot. It seems that because Rimuru was caught by surprise he forgot to use the soundproofing and Hajime realized that this night would not be quiet. Hajime-san? Do you know something? Shia asked. But Hajime didn't answer. He just went back to cleaning his weapons naturally. Yu then spoke. It was a moan really, but it didn't sound bad. Yes. It was like Tio-san. They were almost coming to a conclusion when. More groans were heard and they were all thoughtful. Yu seemed to have thought of something and said. Maybe. A moan of pleasure. They became quiet as they realized what was happening in Rimuru's room. Shia and Kaori turned red, but Yu seemed interested. She was probably thinking about learning new techniques. Well. Looks like they are having fun. Tio spoke up to improve the mood a little. Yu looked interested and put her hand to her ear to hear better. Yu-san is too curious. Shia commented, but her rabbit ears were also stretched. So it didn't pass much credibility. Kaori was still embarrassed and asked. Which one do you guys think it is? Curiosity overcame embarrassment and she asked the question. Yu also seemed to want to know. Shia. You have better hearing. Which one is it? Yu seemed really interested and Shia, who received the question, looked away embarrassed and spoke. It's just that. Shia. Yu didn't understand her reaction. Shia continued to speak. I heard both of your voices. Everyone was silent and the only audible sound was Hajime whistling while cleaning his weapons. Yu looked curious and said. What technique do you guys think they are using? Maybe the stance. I can ask Chloe later. Yu-san. That would be very shameful. Shia didn't seem to approve. Yu was going to speak, but. How delicious. They listened to Sakura. Kaori and Shia turned even redder, and Yu looked impressed. Sakura-san. I never thought she would be so bold. She seems to be enjoying it. That Sakura knows how to cheer a man up. Shia, Kaori and Yu spoke. Hajime had a, I'm not here, look on his face and Tio also looked curious. What do you guys think about us sleeping? No. I don't want to. Hajime suggested, but none of them approved. They stood listening like a bunch of voyeurs. They all blushed the moment Chloe shouted, that's great. But they were still curious. Until the moment came when Rimuru stimulated the girls' nerves. The girls seemed to have question marks in their heads. They were perplexed and even Hajime looked curious and looked in the direction of the sound. The girls looked in Yu's direction. Shia then asked. Yu-san. Is it always like this? Shia asked as Yu was the only one there who had any experience in this area. Kaori and Tio also looked at her curiously. Yu denied with her head and said. No, it's similar, but not as intense. I wonder what Rimuru did with them. Hajime, ask Rimuru tomorrow. No way. That's going to be the most awkward conversation of my life. Hajime didn't even want to imagine that conversation and firmly denied it. Kaori and Shia were already thinking about how they would look at the three of them tomorrow, and Tio said, "I think we'd better sleep now." Good thing Myu-chan was already asleep. Shia thought it was good that Myu was asleep, or it might lead to a lot of awkward questions. Everyone went to sleep. Filled circle, filled circle, filled circle. Rimuru woke up with Sakura and Chloe naked cuddled up to him. He saw their beautiful sleeping faces and wanted to give them a kiss. Mochu, he gave Chloe a kiss and she woke up. Rimuru, san? Sorry. It's just that Chloe's sleeping face was really beautiful. She turned red and kissed him. She looked down at herself and saw that she was naked. Yeah. I'd better put some clothes on. I liked waking up with that view, you know? Yeah. Really? Then I guess I'll stay like this a little longer. Chloe smiled happily at Rimuru's compliment and hugged him. After a while of hugging, Rimuru woke Sakura up and everyone got up. They went to breakfast and saw the others downstairs. For some reason when Kaori and Shia saw them they turned red and looked away. Rimuru was going to ask why, but before they could. Hey guys, I brought coffee. Raphael arrived with a tray of coffees and food. Raphael-san. You're early. Yes. It's because I wanted to take you to the 7 conference. I even brought coffee with lids for us to take on the way. Let's go? Let's go. Yes. I'm curious to meet you. They left and headed for the main house. As they went, Raphael talked a little about the 7 to them. Halfway there, Hajime asked. Hi Raphael. Would you have a good place for kids to stay? I didn't want to take Myu to the meeting. Huh. Raphael let out a confused voice. His expression seemed to say, what is he talking about? Hajime didn't understand his reaction and asked. Is there a problem? It's not really that. It's just that we don't have any good places for kids in town. You see. We don't have any children here. No one said anything. They were confused and amazed that there were no children. However, they realized that they did not see any children in the city. Then Raphael explained. You see, we Reapers are infertile. We are not born like you humans. We just arise. What do you mean arise? How is that possible? Rimuru became even more curious about the Reapers. Everyone was equally confused by the new information and Raphael then continued talking. We don't really know either. That's one of the biggest mysteries about us. We just appeared at some random place in the city like a teleportation. Yeah. But what about before? Rimuru had never heard of such a birth method. It was bum and they would show up. Everyone wanted more information and Raphael was already regretting not telling them sooner. We don't know what happens before. We have no memory of anything before the appearance and only know basic information. That is why there is that place you call an inn. By the looks of it, the birth of the Reapers was a mystery even to them. The inn where the group was staying was used as a temporary dwelling. Everyone was thoughtful and Raphael continued. Yet something strange happened some time ago. What do you mean? Since the first Reaper appeared, Reapers appeared every few months. However, a few years ago they stopped having new ones appear. Everyone is worried as we don't know what caused this. Everyone was thoughtful once again. Apparently the Reapers had stopped coming up and that was really problematic. Raphael seemed to want to get off that subject and spoke. The meeting is about to start. How about we continue? They agreed and went to the main house. Inside the house was a meeting room with a large table. The table had several chairs and the first 7 had drawings of animals. These animals came from nicknames that the 7 mortals received from the general population. These nicknames became so famous that the 7 formally adopted them. They entered and a guide led them to their seats. Then the guide stood near the door and announced. The first Metatron Reaper has arrived. A man who looked to be in his 30s entered. He had a serious look of someone experienced. This man was not one of the 7, but he was the first Reaper to emerge, and he is said to have the most understanding of the light of life, which is a great mystery as this light existed even before Metatron appeared. It is a pleasure to meet you. He spoke and sat down on the side of where the 7 sat. The man at the door then announced. Sariel. The mortal of the owl has arrived. Sariel walked through the door and sat on the seat with the design of an owl. Sariel had a shiny bracelet on her wrist that was not there at their last meeting. It is a pleasure to see you again, she said, and the man announced again. Miguel. The bear mortal has arrived. Miguel entered and was without his armor. He had his hair in a bun and a large beard. His clothes were similar to an overcoat and he was wearing had a large sword on his back. I'm sorry for what I did yesterday. He sat down on a seat with a bear design. Gabriel. The elk mortal has arrived. A muscular man with shoulder-length hair entered. He had on a black tank top and thick pants that looked like casual clothes. He also had 2 daggers at his waist. Yo, nice to meet you. He nodded and sat down in a relaxed manner. Lucifer. The dragon mortal has arrived. Lucifer came in wearing luxurious clothes and sat on the end seat. She was holding a black staff in her right hand. It is good to see you again. She spoke elegantly. At that moment the man at the door continued. Azrael. The raven mortal has arrived. A frightening man entered. His definition was exactly that of a reaper heard of in the land. Black cloak and hood and a covered face. He was floating and had a large scythe on his back. It's a pleasure to meet you. He sat down on the raven-drawn seat. After a while the man at the door announced. Uriel. The gorilla mortal has arrived. A young woman with a ponytail entered. She was carrying a shield and a spear on her back. It is very nice to meet you. She sat down on the gorilla-designed seat. Raphael. The deadly dog has arrived. Hi guys. He spoke and sat down. The man who announced everyone came out and closed the door. A silence hung in the air as everyone watched each other. The 7 were casting curious glances mainly at Rimuru. At this moment Raphael's murmur was heard. Hey, I know it might be a little too late to bring this up, but why am I the only one who doesn't have a cool animal as a symbol? Ch39. The salvation of the Reapers. Currently everyone was in the meeting room of the main house. Raphael's comment about his symbolic animal being a dog was totally ignored by everyone and then Sariel stood up to speak. Very well. The first matter to discuss is about Raphael's punishment. He stole a piece of the light of life and warned the gods about our existence. How will he be punished? Everyone looked at Raphael and he looked guilty. At this moment Lucifer stood up and said. Because of the critical time we find ourselves in, we need all the help we can get. I decree that Raphael will receive no punishment. Any objections? No one objected, but Sariel said. I have no objection, but may I know what this critical moment is? Yes. This is the main reason we are here today. Yes? Sariel was confused by her words and questioned her. Lucifer waited a moment and said. Today we are here to talk about how to prevent the destruction of the city. Everyone was silent. Raphael and Sariel looked confused, but Michael, Uriel, Azrael and Gabriel knew what Lucifer was talking about. Hajime and the girls didn't know what it was about either, but Rimuru had some idea. Lucy. Raphael was about to call Lucifer by an affectionate nickname in front of everyone, but he got a dangerous look from her. Lucifer. May we know what this is about? He corrected himself and asked. Lucifer nodded. Yes. This is it. She pointed up and everyone looked up at the ceiling, but there was nothing there. They were going to ask the meaning of her words, but... Crack, a loud noise was heard. It sounded like the sound of something cracking coming from far away. Raphael and Sariel were startled by the noise for they understood the meaning. Raphael ran to the window and looked up at the sky. The barrier is cracking. He spoke startled. Sariel seemed to have guessed that this was it and was wearing a stern expression. The other members of the 7 were with serious expressions. Yes. She cracks more and more, every day at 9 in the morning. Lucifer confirmed Raphael's words and explained. Just as Raphael said, taking a piece of the lifeline was really dangerous and could cause damage to the barrier. That's exactly what happened. The light of life that maintains the barrier is dying after Raphael's actions and the barrier gets weaker every day. By Metatron's calculations, the barrier will break down completely in 2 days. Then the gods will overpower us or we will lose control and assume monstrous forms. That's. Raphael was feeling more guilty than ever. Everyone was thinking about what to do and at that moment Rimuru stood up. I would like to see that light of life. If I could do that, you have a chance of getting her hired. The 7 looked impressed and Metatron, who had been quiet until now, asked. Can you do that? I'm not sure, but I can try. Rimuru thought that if he was Seal, he could do something. He just didn't say he could do something because there was a small chance that Seal couldn't do anything. Okay. In the afternoon we'll take you. Until then. Lucifer agreed easily and got a little thoughtful. The other members of Rimuru's group seemed happy about the city's chance of survival. Lucifer then continued. From what Michael has told me, you have great power. How about fighting some of our soldiers while you wait? I think that would be fine. Rimuru agreed, and Lucifer turned to Metatron. Metatron, stabilize the light of life as much as possible. When you're done, call me. Yes. After that everyone withdrew. Filled circle. Rimuru had already fought some normal soldiers and won easily. He and the group were in a training camp, and while Rimuru was fighting, everyone was eating lunch. He's really strong. Raphael-kun, do you think it's okay if I fight him? Uriel spoke excitedly. She was the one training the soldiers, and seeing someone easily finishing them off cheered her up. Other than Lucifer, all the mortals were here. Before Raphael could answer. Hey, what are you talking about, Uriel? I will definitely go against him first. Gabriel spoke up. Gabriel was one of Raphael's best friends and was also Uriel's boyfriend. His personality was lively just like Uriel, and he liked to fight. No, I'll definitely go against him. I'll go first. Are you sure? I can bake that cake you love so much. Uriel goes first. Rimuru, Uriel wants to fight you. Easy as that. Gabriel gave in. Incidentally, Gabriel was not very good with honorifics and called Rimuru very casually. Rimuru had overheard their conversation and said, "Don't you want to come together?" Gabriel and Uriel were surprised, and Rimuru's group was looking. As expected, Uriel and Gabriel accepted the proposal and went to the battlefield. Uriel pulled out his shield and spear, and Gabriel pulled out 2 butterfly knives. Rimuru readied his sword. Now, Uriel spoke, and the two set out to attack, but obviously Rimuru beat them. The strengths of the Reapers was precisely their high status. They were very fast and very strong, and all of them could suck souls. However, few of them contained variety and skill. The Reapers that Rimuru fought were on the same level as Sakura or Yu, but these two mortals were much stronger. The 7 easily surpassed Hajime in strength and still had a few differentiators. Gabriel seemed to focus more on speed, and Uriel focused on defense. In addition, they both had various abilities. Deadly blades. Gabriel approached Rimuru. His butterfly knives multiplied into several and floated around him. When he spoke, the knives went towards Rimuru. Rimuru sucked them in with consummate. He launched an attack at Gabriel with his sword, but Tchin Uriel stood in front with his shield and defended the attack. Rimuru kicked the shield and it flew backwards. Gabriel took this chance and attacked at high speed. He tried to attack Rimuru's shoulder, but was met by the handle of his sword. Gabriel stepped back as he received the attack and received a punch to the stomach that launched him far away. That hurts. Everyone put away their weapons as they saw that it was Rimuru's victory. Gabriel, don't worry. I don't think we had a chance from the beginning. Uriel spoke up and held out his hand to help him up. I know. I'm still going to want that cake. He held his hand and stood up in pain. Gabriel asked Uriel to bake a cake, and she replied, "After we save the city. Then I will make the best cake in the world." Okay, I'll charge you for it. If it was yesterday, maybe Gabriel would have been disheartened to talk about the destruction of the city, but now that they had this person with monstrous power by their side, Gabriel was more at ease. Rimuru had sat down with the group for lunch, and that's when Azrael called out to him. Mr. Rimuru. Yes, Azrael-san. Rimuru was a little startled to be called by Azrael, who had an evil appearance and didn't say much. During the whole training, Azrael didn't say a word, so he was a little surprised. Lucifer said that after the training I would take you to the light of life. But didn't she say they needed time to stabilize it? Rimuru asked, confused by Azrael's words. He was training just to pass the time while he waited, but from Azrael's words there was no need to wait. We need no such thing. The truth was that Lucifer was testing you. She wanted to see how far the extent of your powers would go and if you had any chance of getting close to the light of life. What do you mean get close? Apparently the training was to test Rimuru. Yet Rimuru wanted to know why that was. The light of life emits a strong energy. Even more so now that it is unstable. Reapers have no problem, but if weak humans approach it, they can end up dying. However, from what I saw in training, you won't have a problem. I think it would be better for your friends to stay here. I see. That's fine. I'll let them know and come with you then. Rimuru warned the others and followed Azrael. After that they went to the center of the city where it had the light of life. Oh. You have come. Lucifer was sitting on a bench while drinking tea. She stood up when she saw them and told them to come closer. May I? He asked if he could touch the orb of light to analyze it. The two nodded in agreement and Rimuru let Seal do his work. He kept his eyes closed for a while and then, "Wow. That's bad," Rimuru said after Seal analyzed it. Lucifer and Azrael stared in confusion at his words and Rimuru explained. So the light of life is not losing its energy. It is about to explode, in 2 days. The two were surprised and said nothing. Lucifer was the first to recover from the surprise and then asked, "How big is the explosion going to be?" Lucifer seemed concerned if the explosion would destroy the human cities nearby. Rimuru then said, "Normally with that much energy, it would blow up half the continent, but you don't have to worry about that. I have a method of nullifying the explosion completely. The problem is, this orb of light was so complicated and well protected that even Seal could not control it, but Rimuru could put the light of life into its infinite space and blow it up there." Azrael and Lucifer were startled by the size of the explosion, but were reassured to know that it could be nullified. Azrael then asked, "What's the problem?" "It's just that, when he explodes, all his energy will explode too. You guys will probably die. His energy is very tied to you, since you have spent centuries using it. This is also why Rimuru hasn't isolated the light of life yet. If he did, the connection would be severed and all the Reapers would die." Lucifer asked. Is there anything we can do about that? Let me see." Lucifer knew that Rimuru was powerful and wondered if he could do something. Rimuru turned on thought acceleration to talk to Seal. "Seal-san, is there something we can do?" "Yes. In their current state we can't do anything, but if they became more powerful I could disconnect the light of life from their souls. If they became twice as strong, not only that but they would no longer need souls to survive." "Wow. That's very good, but how would they become twice as strong in 2 days?" "I'm still calculating methods." "Okay." Rimuru found it difficult to strengthen someone that much in such a short time, but he was going to trust his partner Seal. Rimuru turned off the thought acceleration and replied to Lucifer, "I know a method of disconnecting you from the light of life. However, I would need the Reapers to become twice as strong." Lucifer and Azrael cast confused glances at his words. Azrael then asked, "Why?" "It's just that this method would be a bit aggressive to your souls. If you were to get stronger, you could be independent of the light of life and souls to survive." "I see." Azrael and Lucifer were thoughtful once again, and Metatron, who had not spoken until now. "Look, Lord Rimuru. That's a good idea, but we get stronger over time. For a Reaper to become twice as strong would take centuries. It's impossible in 2 days." "I know. I'm still thinking about methods." Rimuru and the others decided to have some tea while Seal finished his calculations. Azrael took nothing, but sat down as well. "So Lord Rimuru, how can you be so powerful for a human, if I may ask?" Metatron asked as he sipped his black tea. Rimuru realized that he was just trying to make conversation and said, "Well, I can say that I was lucky to meet the right people." What Rimuru said was true. He was lucky to meet Veldora right after his rebirth, and he was also lucky in other friendships that helped him, like Milam and Ramirez, who supported him as a demon lord. Before Metatron could ask anything. "The tea looks good." They heard a female voice coming from behind them, and when they looked in their direction, there was Sariel dressed elegantly. Rimuru saw her and said, "Sariel-san. Good to see you, come and sit down." "Yes." She sat down in a half-old chair that was next to Rimuru. Rimuru poured her some tea and she thanked him. Then Lucifer asked, "Why did you come, Sariel?" Sariel took her tea and answered, "Yes, that's because I." Before Sariel had finished speaking, one leg of his old chair broke. Sariel hadn't realized that the chair was that old and was surprised. She would not be hurt by falling off the chair, but it would be a bit embarrassing for someone as elegant as she was. So Rimuru held her by the waist so she wouldn't fall. Rimuru dono. Sariel was surprised to be held down and she widened her eyes and her cheeks flushed. Rimuru was going to ask if she was okay, but... Warning. A method to save the White City has been discovered. Seal spoke and Rimuru's eyes widened in surprise. Now. Yes. That's because I was able to analyze the body structure of the Reapers when the Master touched Sariel. Then why didn't you ask me to analyze it before? I didn't think it would be helpful. Since what needs strengthening are the souls, I thought that body analysis wouldn't change anything. Rimuru asked why Seal didn't analyze the Reapers' bodies before, but apparently Seal didn't find that useful. So, what is the method? Seal explained the method and Rimuru turned off thought acceleration. He let go of Sariel's waist and said loudly. Okay. I figured out how to save you guys. Filled circle, filled circle, filled circle. The group was eating lunch while Rimuru analyzed the light of life. They have some great food here, right? Yes. Truly. Shia and Sakura spoke. Chloe also seemed to like the food and was eating everything she had a right to. They even have pepper. Chloe said and put pepper on her food. At this moment she felt someone looking at her and turned around to see who it was. Kaori. Chloe noticed Kaori staring at her and questioned. Kaori looked away embarrassed. Kaori, is it just me or are you looking away every time we look at each other? No, not really. I just. Kaori waved her hands forward trying to make up an excuse, but Sakura intervened before she could. Now that you've spoken. Kaori-chan has been doing the same thing to me. Why is that? Sakura asked the other members of the group. Shia looked away and Tio opened the fan in front of his face. Hajime pretended not to hear. Myu didn't understand and it was Yu who answered. It's because we heard you guys doing it last night. The walls are thin. Yu-san. Yu spoke the truth and Kaori was surprised that she would reveal something like that. Sakura looked down with her cheeks slightly flushed and Chloe stopped eating and turned red like an apple. Yo. You guys heard that, but. Chloe was so embarrassed that she stuttered. She remembered all the things she said yesterday during sex to Rimuru and her face turned even redder. She also remembered the loud moans she gave and her face was already boiling. Before Chloe could finish speaking, Yu spoke up. That's right, we heard you. Now tell us everything. I want to know the positions, rhythm, foreplay and especially what he did to you at the end. Tell us. Now. No. This is too intimate to discuss. Yu sounded like an evil cop trying to get a criminal to confess. Chloe hid behind Sakura in shame as she tried to dodge Yu's questions. Yu then turned to Sakura. What about you, Sakura? You know too, right? Tell us. Yu seemed really curious about the loud moans she heard at the end. Sakura drank her juice naturally, but her cheeks were slightly flushed. She then answered. That's a secret. All I can say is that it was really great. Ooh. Yu looked annoyed that she didn't find out. Chloe was still hiding behind Sakura and the others were pretending not to hear anything. Myu then asked confused. What were the Oni-chans doing with Oni-san? Everyone was dumbfounded by Mayu's question and didn't know what to say. At this moment their salvation, Gabriel and Uriel approached. Hey, guys. Azrael came here to warn about saving the city or something. He wants us to gather in the main house, are you guys coming? Gabriel asked and they quickly agreed to get away from Mayu's question. They went to the main house and when they entered, there were Rimuru, Lucifer, Raphael, Azrael, Metatron, Michael, and Sariel. They all sat down and Rimuru began to speak. Okay. Now that everyone is here, I can talk the way of saving the city. Rimuru first explained to everyone that the light of life would explode in 2 days and kill all the Reapers that were connected to it. He then explained that if the Reapers got stronger, he could disconnect them from the light of life. So how are you going to make us stronger? Uahaha. A great question, Lucifer-san. Rimuru answered Lucifer with a Machiavellian laugh and continued. I will nominate you. Quote. Everyone was silent and cast confused looks. They did not understand what Rimuru meant by naming. Rimuru understood how they felt and so he explained. You see, there are many races that when given names and become extremely more powerful. You Reapers are one of them, so I will name you. Rimuru, I think I understand what you mean, but the Reapers already have names. Yu was very knowledgeable and had heard of ancient races gaining power by being named. However, just as you said, the Reapers already had names. Rimuru then explained. I know. However, Raphael-san, could you explain to me where their names come from? Rimuru asked and Raphael stood up to answer. Yes. How can I put it? Our names come along with our birth. They are the only thing we remember when we arise. We basically know at birth. Raphael answered half confused by the question. Rimuru then continued to speak. Exactly. You only remember your name, and that is different from being named. To be named, you need to be given a name by someone who is stronger than you. That will greatly multiply your power. They were still confused about the naming. At that moment Sariel stood up and said, "If Rimuru Dono says that this is our only salvation, then I think we should accept it. Please appoint me." Sariel seemed strangely excited to be nominated by Rimuru. Rimuru thought this would be good to set an example for the others and approached. "Okay. Then you will be Sariel." Rimuru decided to leave the names the same as he didn't want to have to make up a whole city of names. The last time he had to name many at once, he ended up putting the same name on several and just added letters and numbers afterwards. VOOOF. A white energy formed around Sariel and a rumbling resounded. This was normal in the evolution of higher beings, so Rimuru was not even surprised. The others were amazed at the energy that was emanating from Sariel and the resounding boom. After a while the white energy crumbled and a new Sariel came out of it. Everyone, including Rimuru, was confused. Rimuru had expected a change in appearance as this was normal, but Sariel changed in everything. Her hair had turned brown, her skin was no longer pale and was now a beautiful skin color, her clothes were also different. She was wearing much shorter white-colored clothes, and even her magic bracelet that was her weapon had doubled and was on both arms. She also had a golden tiara, and her previously black eyes were now light brown. These changes surprised the Reapers and the group, but that was not what surprised Rimuru. What surprised him was that she had angel wings. Sariel slowly approached Rimuru and knelt down. "I thank you very much for the appointment, Rimuru-sama. I am happy to say that thanks to you I have regained my memories and can properly introduce myself. I am Sariel, one of the 7 archangels of will created by Veldanava.